Okay, let me put this here. Hi, YouTube. This is Modesta Mahiga Mbuguni, and I just introduced myself to Facebook. We're talking about how to grow as a leader in this New Year's Eve special. And today we have my husband and my leader, Mhando Philemon Mbuguni. Say hi, babe.
Hi everyone.
Okay, so we've got Facebook and Instagram running. You guys know how retro I can get. He's the tech brains behind this platform. And so let me get Instagram on and we get this show on the road. 1 minute. Can you reach out and just get that for me and put it on? Because I do not know what I didn't do. Thank you. Looking forward to tonight's session. Looking forward to having him on. You guys will see just how different we are. Okay, so I'm having something happening here with Instagram. Just let me get this up for a second. I don't want to speak just yet until I can get this going. Oh, I see. Okay, so you won't let me go to. All right, no problem. Go live. That's fine. We're good to go live on Instagram as well. Go live. All right. Okay. Instagram, it is a treat. It's been months since we've done this, but we just thought to come back. Nice. Everybody, we're on a New Year's Eve special. We're talking about how to grow as a leader. You know, in season 4, lifting the leadership lid, like when the leader gets better, everybody gets better. And I know you've heard a lot of my noise and you've been seeing me, and I have a lot of stories to tell. But I've also brought some awesome people on this platform to be with us. And today I thought to bring my husband. Why? Well, leadership starts at home, people. And so if we go the biblical way and my husband is the head and I am the, what people say, neck, but I'm his helpmeet. And if you're liking what the platform is doing, I thought you should get to meet my leader. So, babe, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what is your passion for leadership?
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us there today. My name is Dima Hondo, and I'm a policy advisor in international development and foreign affairs. But I'm also passionate about creative design, and I design digital content, and more so I'm also passionate about leadership development.
Why? Why is leader? I mean, given the fact that you're actually really a multifaceted person, from policy and international development to creative content and creative imagery. Why is leadership a big thing for you?
It's a big thing because I have seen a lot of people through history and in our modern day who make a huge difference and who have also made a huge difference in our world because of their good leadership. And we have also seen some things happen which were very unfortunate because of lack of leadership.
Okay, so today, you know how difficult it is to ask somebody questions that you know what they think and the answers to. But I really want you to get to know this gentleman. Do you notice the difference? Do you see how he's just chilled and composed and systematic and methodical in the way he speaks? And then there's me, all colorful. So we're talking about how to grow as a leader. And you were just telling us, how you see the impact of leadership, in history and in our day to day. Why is it important that we grow as a leader? Because many times when we're talking about leadership, we just say, you are a leader, or that person is in a position of leadership. We don't talk about the growth of a leader. So why is it important to grow as a leader? Why is it important? Because not everybody who's joined here might say, yeah, I think I'm a leader. So why is it important? Why is this growing as a leader an important, aspect of our lives?
That's a very good question, but I think before we answer it, we need to go back and ask, who is a leader?
Which we did, but fine, for your sake, who is a leader?
So I would start by saying not every politician is a leader,
Okay.
and not every leader is a politician.
Okay. So just in case we were wondering, and the first thing that came to mind when you said leader is a politician, you just did away with that quick.
I may also say, not every public speaker that you see is a leader,
What are you trying to say?
and
What's he trying to say?
not every leader is a public speaker.
Wow, I like that.
Likewise, not every CEO is a leader,
Ooh.
and not every leader is a CEO.
Okay. Where are you going with that? What are you saying to us about who a leader is?
So, in my opinion, I think a leader is someone who are truly being themselves, and by being themselves, they make a difference.
Okay.
So that ability of making a difference and influence positive change by simply being yourself.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, in the context of our topic today, how to grow as a leader, if you're telling me you just be yourself and you're a leader, is that enough that I'm just me? I mean, babe, you know me. Is it enough I'm just me? Or is there more you can do to enhance yourself so that you're better, you're talking about effecting positive change so that you can effect positive change?
Yes, so by being truly yourself,
Uh-huh.
then that is a process.
Uh-huh.
And it starts with knowing what I call knowing your truth,
Uh-huh.
who you are,
Uh-huh.
what you have, what you're capable of, what you're made of. And in this age and era of social media, we have a lot of voices speaking to us, shaping our mentality and redefining our truth of who we really are. But I believe the way God designed us, we can only define ourselves from the inside out.
All right, so guys, I kid you not, this is how he speaks. This is this is not because he's on camera. My husband speaks like this, okay? And he's a teacher of the word, so he's like going through his methods and his. Okay, don't get too deep on us, Professor Mbuguni. Speaking those things that be out as if they are prophesying. What do you mean? Okay, so I heard you say, be yourself, who God designed you to be. Obviously, everybody's created unique. Where there is a difference that only I can make, that only you can make, that only Alan, Imelda, Kuzi can make in this world. And so you're saying, first of all, find out who you are, what you're made of, what's inside of you. You can only grow and you can only lead from the inside out. What does that mean? And don't just, if you get too deep right now, I'm going to put a song. It's New Year's Eve, guys. Who wants to, Anyway, continue. I do this to him all the time.
So I would start with, as I said before, the first step is knowing your truth, knowing who you really are in terms of what you're made of, what are your gifts,
okay,
and what are your strengths. Because a lot of times, either from the pressure of our parents or pressure of our friends and people who surround us, we try so much to conform in order to be or to fit in, to look like other people. And at times you find people get frustrated because they've tried to do some things and they think that they're worthless.
Because they don't fit that mold.
Yes. And so the thing is, we were not created to be everything to everybody.
Right there. We're not created to be everything to everybody.
But we were created to address or to deal with specific thing. And everybody has strength in them, and that strength and those capabilities and those giftings are specifically for something that they need to find out. Is what I call, you need to know to identify your darkness.
What now? There's not darkness? All right, guys. I'm going. Okay. Know your truth. You need to discover who you are, and then identify your darkness. Oh, the darkness you will shine as a leader. Okay. I was like, oh gosh, oh no. And I was telling people this is a man of God. Now he's going into dark matter. All right. We didn't prep. I truly interviewed him like anybody else who comes on this thing, so I didn't know what this guy would say. Great. All right. Please talk about the darkness and make sure people are clear when I'm telling them to get into darkness. Just clarify.
What I mean by darkness is everybody can be a leader by being able to shine. And what I mean to shine is not to look for some glory or to look for fame, but to be a solution in a certain niche, to be a solution in a certain area where people always look for inspiration, or they look for solutions, but they don't know how. And you, by being there and being around those people, you can be a solution. So that's what I mean by finding your darkness.
I like
it
that.
could be a technological invention. It could be an emotional support. It could be anything that you can think of which someone can excel, and by them excelling, they can affect positive change to others.
I like that. I really like that. And I know we're talking about growing as a leader and how do you grow as a leader, but I'm really loving, what he's sharing about the fact, know your truth. So everybody's created on purpose, for purpose. You're here at this time, in the context in which you came for a reason. There is a darkness, right? There is a challenge, there is a problem, there's a status quo that you were created and planted here at such a time as this to address. And so this is, now I get it, the leadership, the discovering, the transforming from the inside out, that I am a solution to my sphere of influence. I came here to bring a solution. So I need to know what God has already deposited in me so that I can let that shine in the darkness. And I need to know what darkness I'm called to. Just yesterday I was in a coaching session with somebody, and she was talking generally around the areas in which, the things that get to her, like you said, things that make you mad, or the things that you really wish you could change for people. And then, so I spoke back. All these different things she was saying to me. She says, oh my goodness, you've captured it. That's it. And, so she found both her darkness, and in a way, it validated her, not her purpose, but discovered the way she was wired, because she tended to get irked by the same issues. She tended to want to give similar solutions. The situation seemed different, but a similar solution keeps wanting to come out of her to address that darkness. So then she realized that her darkness was actually cross-sectoral. It wasn't just one thing, because this solution was one of those that can cut across. So that's really powerful. But then now, so I'm listening to you, and I am, I feel like, all right, so that which God put in me, I realize, I can be a leader because I have this solution to this darkness, to the status quo, to whatever circumstances that exist externally. Then doesn't that then mean I come ready-made? I mean, why do I need to grow as a leader? If I came up to earth as a solution to, to a challenge, and I just have to know my truth and express it. Do I need to grow?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Everybody needs to grow as a leader. Because, as I said before, we all come with potential. But potential can only stay there. And sad enough, some people have gone to the grave with their potentials. Which, as Dr. Miles Monroe said, that a lot of songs, books, who knows, maybe other technological advancements that we've never ever seen before. They're lying down in the graves because people went with their potentials. So that is why everybody needs to grow as a leader, because that potential, it's like it needs to be stirred up. And as I said, the first step is to know your truth, is because we live from the inside out. And so when we don't live according to that system and we live from outside in, it means we are suffocating what we have, and we're living a life, and we're walking in a path that was not designed for the potential that we're holding inside to thrive.
So how do we unleash that potential? How do so okay, fine, I found my truth, so I know, so I'm clear now. I know I need to get that right. But how else can I grow as a leader? So if it's knowledge, if it's skills, if it's competencies, so that I'm not hindered by the external imposing on me, so that I do not go to the grave with all this potential. How do I grow as a leader?
So that takes us to the second phase, which I call know your tribe.
All right, I'm all for phases. Phase 1, know your truth. Phase 2, know your tribe.
So knowing your tribe, I would like you to think of yourself as a planet in the solar system.
I can do that. I can be a planet.
So in our solar system, all the planets revolve around the sun. But each planet revolves around the sun along their own orbits. So the planet that we're in, Earth, has its own orbit, and it revolves around the sun for...
So everything is moving around the sun, but it is in its own space.
Own space. Own space. And if you look at them closely, you'll find that each planet complete their rotation around the sun at different times of the year. For example, it takes us 365 days. Today actually is the last day.
Yay!
But
how fitting.
some planets take longer and others take shorter. And each planet has their own different features and climatic conditions. So what am I trying to say by that? Is that you need to find your orbit, you need to find your space, because that is where everything that has been put in you is designed to thrive.
Okay.
So first, as I said before, all planets revolve around the sun, and they being pulled to the sun being the source of energy. So thinking of yourself as a planet, everybody who needs to grow as a leader, they need to have a source of energy, a source of inspiration, a source where they can draw their truth from, a source where they can uplift their emotions, a source from where they can recalibrate their thinking. And personally, my son is God. From him I can find who I really am. I can reflect myself. I can get my mind right. I can think right. There are times when I need to, everything doesn't make sense as I'm walking on my path, on my orbit. But as long as I revolve around God, it means I'm always safe, because I can always bounce back and recharge. I can always go back and draw inspiration, draw my truth, draw my energy. And the funny thing about the planets is that process of revolving, they kind of like go back and forth, like they gravitate towards the sun, but they don't go too much. They bounce back to the orbit. So from that I learned that as a leader, once we draw from our source, once we draw energy and inspiration from our source, then we reflect that same thing into our spheres of influence. So in this, knowing your tribe is that in your orbit, there are people, certain kind of people who can understand you. So not everybody will understand you. And that is the biggest mistake that we're making when we try to define ourselves based on who approves us and who
And the
doesn't.
feedback we're getting, like the likes and the followers, like this must mean I'm doing something right.
Exactly. But as I said before, you're not meant to be a solution to everybody. So knowing your tribe is that you're only meant to impact a certain kind of people. You're only meant to address a certain kind of problems. You're only meant to influence a certain kind of sphere. You have a certain kind of sphere within your orbit. So when you try to look for approval to define as a gauge to see who you are, you will be completely mistaken, because you only have a certain tribe that is you're meant to impact.
All right. So I'm listening to you speak a lot about the inside, because we should know who we are, and we should know that we're called to something, and to address a certain challenge, to be the solution in our sphere of influence. And we should also know that we're not called to everybody. But now I want to take this up a level. So let's say, just talking about us, you're my leader, like it or not, I'm your tribe now. Whether I like it or not, I'm in his tribe right now. And so, the kids and I are in your tribe. And because I really want us to really go into growing as a leader. Like, I do not want us to get off this broadcast and we haven't addressed growing as a leader. Knowing that you know who you are and what you've been called to do, knowing that there's a solution, or in our situation, this world, you're supposed to take your family somewhere in this world, and knowing that, these are my people, this is my tribe, and you are the leader. I mean, that's very clear. What, you turn to God, but what else do you do to grow so that you can get your tribe to where it's supposed to go?
Based on your area of strength.
What do you do?
So
my husband's theoretical. What do you do, babe? You, my husband, Hondo. What do you do to grow as a leader?
First, you need to create a system.
What do you do, Hondo?
I need a system, and I create a system for myself, which becomes my orbit.
Okay, so tell us, like, in practical terms, people taking notes here. Like,
yes.
What does Hondo do? What is his routine? What's the system is put in place? How does he, what are the exercises? What are the mindsets? What are the touch points with other people to make sure that, you grow as a leader?
So
putting him on the spot. Bless.
The first thing is I connect with God. That's the first thing that I start with during the day.
Every day without fail, I can vouch for that.
So I start with prayer and then reading the Word, and I put myself into a plan where I can read the whole Bible through the whole year, like 365 days.
And you've been doing this for a couple of years. Why is that so important to you as a leader?
It's important because, as I said before, I need to know my truth, who I really am.
Right.
And there are a lot of voices which can also speak to me. And I'm not saying that all the voices are bad, but my first voice is God Himself, because He is the manufacturer of this product. And I can only get it right when I go back to Him and find out what I'm made of. So praying every morning and reading the Bible, reading the Word of God. makes my mind fresh and recharged, as well as my spirit, because I live from the inside out. So from there, I go work out, and I love to run.
Why is that important as a leader? At least one of us loves running. Kuzi, you can relate.
It's important because your inner state has to be in sync with your physical state if you want to be effective. If your body is not fit, no matter what kind of ideas that you have on your mind, no matter what kind of goals and plans that you have, but if your body is not fit, you will not be able to make any impact.
Okay, I need you to help me put this on. And then I've noticed, you growing as a leader. So if you were to see my husband's phone, he has all kinds of apps for, personal development, professional development, putting systems and he also, I haven't seen this in another person. He could teach himself anything, like given enough time. He goes intense into a thing. It could be a language, it could be a musical instrument. Like he goes deep into things. Why do you choose to get these systems and this technology, these things, to develop yourself? And I know you do it, and I've seen a lot of your things. It's also leadership. Why do why isn't just you reading the Word of God enough for you? Which you do diligently every single day without fail. You pray every single day without fail since I've known you. So why isn't that enough? Given the fact that God is our manufacturer, He's our source. Why isn't that enough for you as a leader?
Because, as I said, I know my truth. I know what I'm made of. And once I know that, I identify the areas in my life in which I am gifted and I'm called to do. But they, as I said, they are only potentials. So I need to find some things to build from there.
I like that. All right. So we're all leaders. We're all, created to serve a purpose that only we can do the way we can do. But we come in with leadership potential. Somebody commented on this. It was Tony, Tony Frank on Instagram. And he said, leadership is developed. So we have leadership potential. Every single person has leadership potential, but it has to be worked on. You were talking about your strengths. You're talking about the areas that you're called to, your gifts. They have to be worked on. So it's not enough that I know God has put leadership in me and I can effect something in my sphere of influence. You actually need to work on them so that you do not go to the grave, with the things that you have. And so this is why you put in systems around it. Is this something you would recommend other people? Is this something you would recommend as, how to grow as a leader?
Yes, it's something that I can highly recommend because once you realize that you are called to do something and to make an impact in a certain area, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I like that.
To grow yourself. All you need to do is to find out people and who are gifted in those areas or who have already gone ahead of you and have done something that can build you up. So that's the point that we live as an ecosystem, because you might have something that I do not have, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Number one. Number two, I don't have to waste my time on something that I'm not gifted at and something that other people have already done. So all I have to do is to just learn from what others have done.
Ooh, I love it. I think this man is getting to where I wanted him right now. One of the things I really wanted us to talk about is, so because Hondo has, is talking to us about the fact that everybody's born a leader, everybody has leadership potential in them. Find out what God has put in you, so, He says, I go back to God. I go back to God. He tells me who I am. He tells me what he created me to do. He shows me my gifts and my talents. And I live to follow that. So this is my true north. This is my compass. God is my guide. But because you said everybody, is born to be a leader, and there's a darkness that they're here to dispel, that there's a light they're here to shine with their leadership. Coming to us as a couple, that means your wife is a leader. That means your two girls are in this. So now we're talking about the family setting. We're in the setting where we're all leaders out here, and I love what he just shared right now. That you don't, your strengths, and now because we live in community, I am your tribe. You're my people. We live in community. You know my strengths. You're not going to try to do the things that I do. You will leverage off of my strengths. You'll leverage off of the strengths of the people in your tribe. But equally, I don't even bother. You know me. I mean, I do not. I'm just such a spoiled wife. Let me let you know. I mean, there are things I could if I tried. Why try? He's there, so he does. And so that really as well. How do you lead in a context where there are also other leaders, and still be able to be of value as a leader? And I'm just talking about the home context. We're not even going out yet. Let me see if time allows.
In that context,
I'm talking about you, baby. My husband's a teacher. He's about to don't lecture you. How do you
make this place better by me being here?
I think I mean, I know you're giving this one example, it's a professional example, but I see you doing that with us as well, with me as your wife. And I like, the analogy that you had, just the planets orbiting in their own, in their own space. And the fact that, and this is just a person that you are, you're not concerned. And I think with many times we abuse leadership, we just feel like I'm at the top, I'm in decision-making position, you defer to me, you bow down to me, you do not move unless you're approved by me. And what I've noticed, Hondo, is he's not even thinking about you and your shine. He's just truly, as he said, he's just thinking about how do I add value? What am I called to do? How do I step in, and make a difference? And it really is a person to facilitate. That's why he was saying, not every leader is like up front, not every leader is CEO. So you've been one of those people, and all along, he was in school, like secondary school. He's been asked to get into leadership, asked for them, but people keep asking. Still now, people will ask him to get into positions of leadership, and not just the title, transformation, affecting change, because you really of this is what I'm created to do. This is what I do best, and you're honing your skills to be able to add value, and because you have that mindset of I'm here to be a solution, then you need to know how can I be a solution to you. And I think this is how, I think some of the interest that came from today's session is, Modesta, Modesta, she's out there, she's down in a bunch of things for those who know me at home or who may know me through Purpose and Excellence. And so, I'd love to see what Modesta's husband is like, because I do come out fiery. And my husband's not bothered at all with me. He's not bothered at all with his fire. He says, I love you. I'm here to facilitate, I know you're my responsibility, and the girls are my responsibility, and I'm here to make sure that you can be all that you need to be. And by so doing, he has served his leadership, and that's just so different. It's so refreshing. And I think we had days also because we're man and wife, and so how does your husband let you do all these things, go to all these places, speak, and have this liberty? I think a lot of people are wondering. They've been wondering about the rules that you impose on me, and you're just not like that. And it doesn't bother you. Actually, why doesn't it bother you at all about where I go, what I say, what I do? Like how have you chosen to lead our marriage and our family such that, is it because you got the Holy Spirit watching me and beating back, paddle beating me back into order? What is it? What makes you just chill? Just to be you and do you and allow me and the girls to be us?
I would go back to my first point.
Yes, you would.
That know your truth.
Yeah.
Once I knew my truth,
Uh-huh.
and I keep on learning every day,
Uh-huh.
I make sure that I'm grounded into that truth.
And this truth, this is a truth you knew before you got married. You know, God reinforces this truth now that you're married, now that you're a husband, father as well. And so it's not who comes and what happens and what changes, right?
Yes. It's the truth. It's something that maybe I can break it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, that a man who doesn't know what who has not discovered what he's ready to die for, then he's not ready to live, or he's not fit to live. So in essence, is that when you know who you are and what you stand for, what you're called to do, and the values that you need to stand for, then you make sure that you're grounded in that knowledge and values. And so no matter what is happening around you, so when I look at you, I don't look at you as a threat, like, oh, my wife to
go here, speak to this person.
Yeah. Because I'm very comfortable in my truth.
Oh, babe, what?
To appreciate what you're made of.
And who you are.
And who you are. And so instead of being timid, instead of being to feel threatened, you want to celebrate.
I love this man. Right? And so, and you know what I find? I find by so doing, I then honor you. Like, I mean, of course, I would honor him anyway. But just the fact that you're at peace, you're focusing on who you are and what God called you to do. You know you've got a wife and kids that, and there's somewhere they need to go in life. This is your mandate from the Lord, right? And you're just going ahead doing that, giving me room to be me. I better spend time with God to know who I am and what I'm called to do and who I am called to be by you and the girls as well. Along with everything else. We're just using our relationship simply because we are married, like to talk about leadership, at the home and then going onward. And so there is no question of a threat. There are no rules that we put for each other. I remember there's a time, and I won't go into details. We had challenges, and somebody was advising me, and they said, "Where is he?" I said, "He's around." I don't know where you were, in one of the rooms somewhere, and I wanted to send you this advice, but I was scared that he might see your phone. I'm like, "Oh, my husband sees my phone whenever. Like, I have no issues." And then, but also, if you're advising me to help me grow, it's because he knows I'm not sitting there, gossiping with people about my husband. Is like, I need help with something, and it's just so liberating. And of course, we're talking in the family context, but equally so when you take that out and you're taking that out to a professional setting, or you want to influence in the community, to know that this is how a leader starts off. They know who they know that there's a challenge that they're called to do. They're developing themselves, because you said it's just leadership potential. It's not enough that you're charismatic or you have a following, but to do a service to the calling that God has over your life, you need to develop yourself as a leader. And then just rest in that truth. Rest in that and allow other people to also express themselves and see how you can stand in and help.
That's correct.
What, so you're my leader, you're my head. I mean, this is it. Apart from that, as a human being, as far as human beings go, I'm not going to listen to anybody else. Who then feeds you apart from Jesus so that you know that you're leading me and the girls right, and wherever you are, the spheres of influence that the Lord has called you to effect, that you can also stand well as a leader. Yes, you're a man after God's heart. Well, like God say that, but you know what I mean. I know that you want to please God, but also you're still a man in a fallen world.
Mm-hmm.
So who is to check you as a leader? When we're talking about growing as a leader, who's checking you, Hondo, as a leader? What do you advise? That people you're a leader, just pray, spend time with God, and do right by people? Or do you think leaders also need other people over them to hold them accountable and help them walk as leaders?
We do need other leaders to hold us accountable. Not only that, but we also need other leaders to show us the way.
Okay.
So you can't be a leader who does not learn.
Uh-huh.
Every leader is a learner.
Okay.
In fact, to be a leader is a process that you will keep on doing. You'll keep on becoming a leader until the day you die.
You keep on becoming a leader. So growing in leadership.
Growing in leadership.
You never get to a point where you're like, I've grown.
You don't get to a point saying, well, now I'm a member of parliament, I'm at the climax of leadership. Or now I'm a CEO, then I'm at the climax of leadership.
So you're saying many times most of us want to grow because we have maybe a position, an end. So when I get there, then all of this work was to get me there. You're saying that's not enough.
No.
So many times we're growing as a means to get to a certain end, and when we get there, but you're saying it's not. It is the end. Perpetual,
yes.
continuous growth in leadership is.
That is actually I was about to say that in my third point. That every leader needs to reinvent themselves.
Yeah, I'm going to write your points right now. Point number 1 was know your truth. What? Why are you laughing? Did somebody say something?
No.
Why are you laughing? Go continue. You're on your third point.
So every leader needs to reinvent themselves. And what I mean by that is what I just said, that you keep on learning on becoming a leader until the day you die. It's a continuous process. Think of, I gave before, the earth is revolving around the sun. And as it does that, it goes through different seasons. That's why we have winter, spring, summer, fall. All of that is because of the rotation that the earth, the sun. So as leaders, we also, as the more we go, we have different downs. We have seasons of high, positive emotions. We have low seasons where everything doesn't make sense. Things are hard and challenges left and that is the part of the journey for a leader. And many a times we have let ourselves be by what is going on
by the seasons
around us, by the seasons. But in essence, those seasons are a sign for us to make certain moves. So
make certain preparations for the next seasons.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Absolutely. So for example, today
Uh-huh.
we're marking the first, the end of, it's the last day for 2018. So we already think of what we're team. So
it marks, an end of a season and
yes,
a new.
yes. So the end of one season of another season, and which means every end marks the beginning of new things. So for a leader, many a times when we reach at a certain point, a certain milestone, as I said before, maybe you are a CEO, or you have a big own business, or you are a member of parliament, and when we get there, we stop learning, we stop developing ourselves as leaders. But I remember, as you said the other day, that what got you here will not take you there. So as a leader, that marks the beginning. Like you need to reinvent yourself. You need to look for authority, like people who are knowledgeable in that area, people who have gone before you in that area, and what they did. Dr. Martin Luther King is one of my model leaders, and I learned an interesting thing about was in the movement of civil rights. He had to travel all the way to India to learn from Mahatma Gandhi about protest, on how to establish a non-violence movement for social. So every leader needs to reinvent themselves. You don't have all the solutions. It's like I used to learn about snakes when I was taking biology.
Okay.
And
I didn't know about this, but anyway, let's roll with it. Okay.
When they run, they take off the scale. The skin.
They shed their skin.
Yeah, they shed their skin, and then they go to the next level. But
and they go hide away for a while whilst this and grow again. You know what you're saying to me? Sometimes we think it's the end of us, especially when we're looking at titles and positions. Something doesn't go right, you're thinking this is the end of me because nothing defined you. Everything that you wanted to do to grow as a leader was for that. The end of a season is just the beginning of a new one. There is more.
Right. That's right.
And equally so, like you were saying, climbing up to a certain mountain and getting to the peak, well, it's an opportunity for you to grow, but then now when you get into the new area of growth, you're starting at the bottom again. So you have to climb up again.
Right.
And there is no shame as a leader to have to continually grow, which means like the snake that has shed skin, there are times you're vulnerable. Because you've learned all you can learn in a certain area, and then now you're looking for people, you're looking for resources, and you're vulnerable in this thing, and you're looking for ways to grow again. Then you grow a new skin for this new, for this new area, and you go and you're saying this is lifelong.
Yes, it's a lifelong lesson. And what I've learned,
I'm just thinking there are comments. Oh no, it's fine.
What I've learned very recently is that as a leader, we get to a point where our age becomes dull.
Age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Age becomes dull, and means we are not.
Speak for yourself. In Jesus' name, I rebuke that. Continue.
And it feels like we get stuck. We're stuck somewhere, and we don't know what to do. Where we go, the more we need to learn, because every step that you go higher, it means you need to reciprocate with more knowledge that is required in that area. You need to increase your capacity. You need to increase your renew your mindset. It's like most of us have smartphones nowadays, and every now and then you find your notification on your smartphone saying you need to update your phone. Just recently, we had friends over, and I was looking for iPhones. The new operating system has a measurement application. Yeah. So one of our friends, I was telling him that you can use that, and he said no, because my operating system is 2 years old. And so, same thing as leaders. Sometimes we want to go, we go like 2 steps ahead, but we have operating system that is 2 steps back.
So you're not going to be effective as a leader.
You're not going to be effective as a leader.
You know what? I kind of got creeped out when you brought this, the snake analogy, but now I'm really loving it. When that snake has shed its skin, it's vulnerable, right? So it's got skin underneath that's sensitive, and it's more susceptible to infection, and maybe can be preyed upon, and all the rest of that. As a leader, now I'm asking you, don't tell me theories, just as you, as my husband, as a leader in the different contexts you've led, what do you do, to grow as a leader? What do you do in places where you find out, I am not relevant, I'm faced with a challenge. I was created to deal with this challenge, like in this context, I'm your wife, these are your kids, this is your tribe. So you're in your sphere of influence, this is your orbit, all your examples, they fit. But all of a sudden you're trying to address a challenge, you realize that your approach or as your wife and the children, they're your children, we're under you, work context. So I have a supervisor, so I am under my supervisor. So yes, everybody's called to their leadership, but there's still structures and systems, there's hierarchy context as well. Is there room to listen to your followers, your subordinates, your reports? Is there room to even go to them and say, I'm vulnerable, is that something, can that also help a leader grow? I know you do that with me, but I'm just saying, does that help leaders to grow? To go to the very tribe, the people they're supposed to lead, and say, I'm lost, and I don't know, and can you help me with this? Or what can I do? Is that also part of leadership growth?
Yes, it plays a huge in the process of leadership. Matter of fact, many leaders that you see being celebrated as leaders, in my I gravitate more in politics, and in one of we learned very famous case studies, President Kennedy, JFK. There was a nuclear tension between the United States and Russia, and he was faced with a decision to respond. Nuclear missiles that have been placed along the coast in Cuba, which is neighboring the United States. He's celebrated until today for making a decision of not starting a nuclear war. But behind the scenes, there were plenty of other advisors and other bureaucratic leaders from whom he was taking advice on what to do. See, if he had that powerful man in this country and maybe in the world, and this call without anybody else telling me anything, we would have had a different reality today. Because you don't, no matter how great you are, you still need to hear and to learn from others. And as I said before, leadership is not defined by, but it's defined by what people, the influence that everybody between each other.
So last thing before we go is then you've mentioned quite a few people, but who living or already do you admire as a leader and why? Want to emulate them? You mentioned a few, but I just want to know if there's anyone that stands out.
That stands out is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because he was very comfortable of regardless that he was and he is the most powerful being,
Mm-hmm.
but still he was able to down and wash the feet of his followers. And he was able enough to reputation in order to see other people thrive. So if I can define him with one sentence, that he has a magnetic character. That the way he is, it just kind of pulls you to him.
How Hondo was once teaching us about oh, what's happened here? It went off somehow. And he spoke about power under control, that meekness. Jesus was meek, and meekness. Can you put that back on for me? I can't. Meekness is power under control. And honestly, I know he's describing the Lord, our Lord Jesus Christ, but I know my husband, you know, he has power under control and come to see effective, transformational, leave a legacy. You see this meekness, and it doesn't mean that they're weak. It doesn't mean that, you know, why aren't you taking a stand and why aren't you getting people and things in order? You know, they know who they are, right? They know what they're called to do. They're very people, not always trying to be the one, just I know what I'm called to do. Let me empower you to do what you need to do. Give you the space to do that. And knowing that it doesn't take away from their shine. They're okay to be vulnerable, you know, where they need to grow. Okay to turn to somebody else and say, I don't know, I'm not doing this right, and to grow in. And then the thing of meekness being power under control. They know that they have power, the power, you know. And I feel that you get this from the Lord, that he holds himself back. When I put the description out, I said he's both the lion and the lamb. He holds himself back from unleashing, be and brag and put on display as a leader, and even allows himself to be a lamb. People can also be empowered and have this magnetic pull towards them. And so I hope you've gotten something from, you know, how we can grow as a leader. Is there anything that you want to say as a parting word? Just, you know, anything at all. People who want to grow as a leader, people want to see 2019 as better than their 2018 or any time they've ever lived. The last word of 2018.
So I have two takeaway points. One, so that you know your truth. I was reading about Isaac Newton, the greatest scientist in history. And you know the reality about him? If he knew how he celebrated today, he would be so surprised because normal, and people didn't really appreciate what he was doing at that time. But he stood, he knew his truth, and he was grounded in truth and be grounded on it, no matter how and what people. Second point and last one is that as a leader, and I know this is the last day of the year, we make resolutions and goals. Make sure your goals align with your truth. Don't just make goals to make yourself busy. No, make goals to make yourself effective. That's all I have.
Thank you so very much for that. I love you, babe. Thank you so very much for staying with us. This is New Year's Eve, and you've taken the time to spend this hour with us. We're so very grateful. We bless you and all of yours. And 19 is all that you hope and you dream for it to be. Why? Because you choose to be a purpose-driven servant leader that drives results with excellence. Because you choose to start the year with purpose and a plan. I have a lot of coming your way. We're launching Start Now with and a master plan. It's a journal, and so that'll be and paperback. Look out for it tomorrow. It'll be out in the market tomorrow. And we're going to start 20 as the year for Women Air. And so everything we're doing in 2019 is to speak to Women Air. Women Air, you've been in transition, whether, whatever dreams you had in college are not what you found in reality in the job market, whether it's marriage, it's a business, so whatever it is, you got into a workout. This is your year. You're going to hit the ground running, and you will continue with that momentum for the entire year. And we're here to do. I was saying that Hondo is the person behind the platform this entire year, from 1st of January when we started the Facebook Live leadership coaching session, doing the background work. He's been doing the website. He's been creating all these products that we have out as well very soon. And so I thank him with everything going and everything for him to egg me on. By the way, Woman Air, he came up with that name. I didn't even do that. I was just like hitting the ground running, and he came up with that. And so we look forward to continuing this walk with you in 2019. Please reach out to us, info@purposeandlexcellence.africa. And let's do this. Let's change our own stories and change the narrative of Africa, because we know that it's going to be the leading world. And we're investing ourselves, being effective, doing that which we've been called to do, that which we know, the darkness which we know we can dispel. We're invested in making and Africans get there. Have a ushering in of the new year, and we'll see you in 2019. Much love. Okay. How do I end this?